Hello, I am Ronan Murphy, and I've been a professional record producer, recording engineer for over 3 decades now. And for 20 of those years, I've been doing a lot of consulting for various people and organizations around the world. I do everything from consulting with universities, pro audio companies, big studios, celebrities I can't tell you about because of non-disclosure agreements, but also a lot of home studios and people earlier on in their career, smaller studios just trying to get a leg up. And one of the things I do a lot of for these people is mix consulting. So people send me mixes from around the world. We listen to them together and talk about the mix, and I give them kind of techniques and advice about how they can step up the level to get them closer to the record that they're trying to make. I love this. It's really fun work. I'm happy my business does well, but there's a certain kind of client that sort of breaks my heart. And that's a weird thing to say, but they're the clients who shouldn't have paid me any money, at least not yet. And here's what happens a lot. It's amazing how often I'm working with somebody, a client for mix feedback, mix consulting, and they say, oh yeah, I'm kind of going for a modern EDM thing, or hey, I'm going for a Katy Perry style pop production, or hey, I'm going for John Coltrane style jazz. And I'm listening to this, and I have to ask them, when you were working on this, did you listen to any modern EDM? Did you listen to any of Katy Perry's biggest hits? Did you listen to any of Rudy Van Gelder's greatest John Coltrane recordings? And it's amazing how often the answer comes back, no. And this sounds silly, and it almost seems too stupid to talk about, but it happens so much that it is worth mentioning and talking about. Because it's amazing how often people kind of go into a mix with a gut feeling of what it should be, and they just kind of go with their gut, follow the muse. And if you're just making art with a capital A to do whatever the heck you want, that's great. But if your goal is to try and do things that fit in with these other big artists or genres, or fit a particular favorite band of your clients, you don't need a guy like me. You do not need to send me any money. What you need to do is actually just put on your scientist hat and listen to reference mixes. And really listen, not just put it on and go, yeah, that's a cool band. Put it on and really listen. Is there a lot of reverb on the vocal, or is there none? Are they long reverbs, or are they short? Is the kick drum bright and forward, or is it dark and tucked back into the mix? Are there lots of layers of guitar, or is it really sparse? It's amazing how often when you kind of just spend that little bit of time, the more you do it, the more you can do it in a few minutes. But when you just listen to these things, it's amazing how much obvious things will just, boom, hit you in the head, and you realize, wow, I totally had that wrong. You'll listen to some great records in whatever genre you're listening to and realize, oh my God, my vocal is so much more forward or so much more buried than all of them, or my kick drum is way louder or way quieter, way brighter or way duller. Wow, I have way more guitars than any of these other things. All of these things, and it's amazing once you just sort of have your scientist hat on and go, oh yeah, I'm way off. Just sometimes a simple fader move, or a simple, let me scale back the high-end boost on that guitar. How these simple moves can take your mix from here to a much, much higher level, or a whole nother level. And you don't need to send a guy like me money to figure that out. And even myself, despite the fact that I have no idea, but I've mixed thousands of songs professionally, I still, if I have an artist, and I've got a pretty good gut instinct on things at this point, but if an artist is really into a specific band, and that was a huge inspiration for their sound, I'm going to go in, I'm going to study that band. And a few years ago, I was doing a bunch of music from the Democratic Republic of Congo. May come as a big surprise, but I don't have a long history of knowing pop music in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I had my ideas of what it might be, but I put on my scientist hat, and went in and listened to what was happening at the top of the charts in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And it was not at all what I was expecting. They were different keyboard sounds than I was expecting, different kind of reverbs than I was expecting, different relationships between keyboards and vocals than I was expecting. So me just spending a little bit of time, studying and getting turned on to some fun music in the process, I was able to, get my mix much, much closer to what would be a big mainstream record in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So it almost seems too ridiculous to talk about, but is actually really important and really, really valuable. And by the way, if you're into that sort of thing, go ahead and like and subscribe this. But back to the good stuff. So when you put on your scientist hat, it can be as simple as pulling up your favorite streaming service and, scrolling through a few different things. When it's really critical, I actually like to bring things into my session, and I've got a very particular workflow that's super effective. And if that's something that would be interesting, leave me a comment that you'd like to see that, and then if there's enough people interested, I'll go ahead and make that video, kind of run you through my whole routing and workflow of that. But the important thing is to go and do that listening. But you need to be aware of one thing. When you first start mixing something, your track is going to be quieter, mellower compared to most commercial releases. And when you compare to those commercial releases that have been mastered, are going to sound bigger and brighter and way more exciting, you're going to think, oh my God, I am way off. But what I encourage you to do with that is to try and level match a bit. And at first, don't try and make yours as loud as the reference. It's not time for that yet. But try and find a way to pull down the reference, just the level, so that the reference and that you're listening to and your mix sound kind of similar. They don't have to be identical. And I'm not even worried about numbers. I just want to go when I A/B between one and the other, they feel about the same. So if they feel about the same, it's going to allow me to listen and go, okay, where's my kick drum in relationship to the reference? What do my reverbs sound like in relationship to the reference? And it's amazing how just that little bit of work that doesn't require sending a guy like me any money can just transform your mixes. So obviously, if you do want to do consulting with me, you can, but I would much rather you have gone through that to very simple, basic stuff that you can do for free. So if we're working together, we can really dive into the nitty-gritty to get you not just from basic to good, but from good to really great. And if you want to do that, you can just go to ronanchrismurphy.com, and that will get you to anywhere you need to do some consulting with me. But the important part of this is you don't need me for a lot of really major stuff. Again, as simple as it sounds, it seems obvious, but it's amazing how many people I work with who've never taken the time to really compare what they're working on to very successful records that are in the genre or the target sound that they are going for. And if you do that, it is amazing how huge of an improvement you can make for $0. Okay, that is it. I hope this was a little bit helpful. And as always, keep having fun with this stuff and stay focused on the music.